Good afternoon. Today we would be discussing certain issues related to cyber harassment. This is just a special lecture on awareness on cyber harassment, which is becoming more and more prevalent in present crisis times. Let us take a scene. We have been witnessing that there are a lot of online classes going on due to this COVID-19 crisis, where the schools, the educational institutions and other things, they have closed and locked down, and due to this the organizations or the educational institutions, they are trying hard to compensate for the face-to-face classroom teaching and other aspects. So there are a lot of issues coming up related to the harassment part. Now let us take a scene. Suppose an online class is going on, a web counseling session or online session in any of the educational institution through a teacher, and a number of students is going on. And when the class is going on very quite smoothly, the students or the learners are quite interested, they are contacting, they are interacting, and everything is going normal, and suddenly a screen pops up and there you see some inappropriate content. In that case, the faculty or the teacher is taken aback, and of course the students who are online, they are also taken aback that what is going on. So it takes a little bit of time to understand that how this screen has popped up without permission, without certain reasons, and the inappropriate content is visible. Now such kind of cases are becoming more and more prevalent in online classes, be it schools, be it colleges, be it other kinds of educational institutions. Now this is related to cyber harassment. That means somebody has intruded in the security of that online session and tried to hack it or tried to empower the whole session. So this becomes very important to understand. So that is why this lecture is on cyber harassment, where I would be discussing certain aspects related to cyber harassment and what are the different terminologies or the glossary terms which are used in cyber harassment, which we may be aware of or which we may not be aware of, and what measures or the preventive actions we can take to curb this harassment thing. Now this would be the module of the study in this particular session. There would be an introduction. We'll discuss certain terms related to cyber harassment. I would like to point out here that all the terms would not be discussed. The terms which are quite relevant to the workplace and the educational institutions, those will be discussed. The audience, the target audience which is targeted towards cyber harassment would be discussed, the meaning of cyber harassment, and of course the measures and the preventions related to cyber harassment. Now let us see the introduction part. We all know that technology has penetrated, technology like internet has penetrated in our day-to-day lives and changed our world. Technology, we all know that it can be a bane, it can be a boon, it can be anything. It depends how we use it, how effectively we use it, how productively we use it. That is what decides what kind of technology happens. Technology can of course enrich our lives by providing entertainment, information, social networking, gaming, and of course connecting with people all across the world. In the present crisis condition, technology has taken a forefront, and in many ways it has provided a kind of support system to people locked inside their homes. It has also provided a kind of a new atmosphere or emerging atmosphere where people can work from home and maintain a certain kind of a social distance and of course be more productive. But there are issues and challenges, as I discussed earlier, related to the same when people are working from home. Many times it has been witnessed that excessive and unsecured usage of technology may interrupt day-to-day working, in turn affecting the mental health. Now this is a very pertinent and important issue which is related to this concept of cyber harassment, with too much of technology and too much of intrusion of technology in our lives, there is a part where we are losing our mental stability. There are cases where the mental health becomes so important because the interaction with the public at large, the interaction with people is less. It is through technology, it is not through the physical contacts. Now, cyber harassment is one such issue which is rapidly gaining the attention of experts, as it has far-reaching implications towards personal well-being of individuals apart from, of course, from other serious ramifications. This can include the security issues also, which won't be discussed here. We'll be concentrating only on cyber harassment. Now let us now go through different terms of cyber harassment which are very popular, which we know, which we have come across, but do we actually know what they are? We need to be aware of these terms because there are times when we are using certain kinds of words, certain kinds of sentences, certain kinds of terminology, certain kind of expressions where they may not be intended towards harassing, but they can be misappropriated or used as harassment. So it is very, very important for us to understand what are these terms. And cyber harassment can interchangeably used with different terms. It can be online harassment, it can be cyber abuse, it can be online abuse, it can be cyber bullying, it can be cyber stalking. So all these come under cyber harassment, so they can be used interchangeably. So I would be stressing more on cyber bullying part or online harassment part. Now, before we start with different terms and understand what are the different terminologies for cyber harassment, it is very important to understand what is an online setting. We always think that we are online. Suppose we are messaging somebody through WhatsApp or through other messaging sources. It is online setting. So, online setting can vary from different forms, and it is applicable to all individuals as well as institutions. So they can be emails, they can be social media platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, they can be messaging apps like WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, they can be the blogging platforms like WordPress, and of course they can be the comments section in any of the digital news platforms or the personal blogs or YouTube's pages. So if you see across, suppose let us take an example of YouTube. Somebody uploads the recording of his or her presentation or his or her expression on YouTube and shares with you and asks you to comment on it. So there is a comment section on that particular page where you can even further share it and of course comment it and even like or dislike it. So these are the online settings, and they provide a platform where people can intrude or people can go and comment, put their comments on it. Now, who would be the audience in this case? I would be stressing on the institutional, the educational institution parts, and since ours is a very big institution, so we would be targeting on the learners, the faculty, the academics and the staff available in the institution, because everybody is working from home and all of them at one point of time may be coming across certain activities which may be hurting them. So what are these? These we will discuss, and how we can take certain measures to prevent these activities. So it is beneficial for all and it can help in stabilizing the mental health of all. Now let us understand the meaning of cyber harassment. Cyber harassment basically is executed through digital devices. It can be computers, laptops, smartphones, tablets, mobiles, anything. The platforms where cyber harassment can occur includes social media, the chat rooms, online classrooms, and other online platforms like virtual meetings through Google Meet, Zoom, etc. The places where people can view, people can participate, and people can share their contents. So these are the platforms where cyber harassment can occur. Cyber harassment can be varied in varied forms, ranging from annoying comments to being invasive to leading to traumatic threats of violence as well. So it can range from the lower category to a very high category. So the range can differ through different modes. Now let us discuss what are the different forms of cyber harassment. Now these are the different forms of cyber harassment. In subsequent slides I would be discussing the meaning of these particular part, and then we'll be switching on to cyberbullying part. Now the forms of cyber, the very prominent form of cyber harassment is cyberbullying, cyber mob attacks, cyber stalking, doxing, hacking, hateful speech and online threats, message bombing, online impersonation, online sexual harassment, and trolling. So now these are different forms. There can be many other forms like device attacks, like security attacks, which I would not be taking in consideration here because this is not very important for us at this particular moment of time. These are the main parts. Now if we discuss cyberbullying, you'll find that cyberbullying encompasses various harassing behaviors online like humiliation, insult, or threat. If we talk about cyber mob attacks, it occurs when a large group gathers online to collectively harass or discredit the target. The target can be an individual, target can be an institution. So cyber mob attacks, usually it happens when somebody is expressing his or her own views and people don't like it, so they collectively come together online and then they try to discredit that particular individual or the institution. Cyber stalking, this is very popular, and it is becoming more and more kind of a menace especially for children and women in particular. So it is a prolonged use of cyber harassment with the aim to kill, that is an extreme case, to injure, to harass, or to intimidate a target. Now in this case, what happens is the person tries to, or the individual tries to keep on commenting on social media platform, through emails, through messages, keep on commenting and keep on sending the hate mails or inappropriate content in forms of videos or other modes, and tries to put pressure on the target individual or the institution. In this case, it may lead to a lot of mental disturbance for the target. Doxing. Doxing relates to publishing the target's sensitive personal information with the aim to harass, intimidate, or extort. Now this usually happens on the personal basis, and it depends when there is a lot of animosity between the two. So the doxing is not so very popular on the public front. Then you have hacking. This is very popular. The example I gave in the beginning is a part of hacking, where unauthorized intrusion into a device or network is done with the aim to harm or attack the target. It can be done basically for fun purpose also, without realizing that it is a kind of harassment. That is why it is very important to understand. Even the learners who are watching this program, they should be very careful while disseminating their personal information like login IDs and the passwords they get through the faculty, not to share with the ones who are not registered with us, because this is a kind of cyber harassment and it can very well be traced. and the person may be led, the person can be in trouble later on. So this kind of thing should be avoided, which we'll discuss later. Now you have hateful speech and online threats. This is again a public discourse and public kind of harassment, where forms of expression attacking a specific aspect of target's identity. It's a kind of character assassination. So now usually this results in the peer group. This results when there's a lot of competition and lot of jealousy is there amongst the colleagues and other peers working in an organization. So this is another form of harassment. So people must realize that whatever the activities they are doing on cyberspace or online, that is visible, that can be documented, and that can be an action taken thing where they may land into trouble. Message bombing. This is another kind of cyber harassment where intentional flooding of irrelevant messages on target's personal or institutional mail account or phone is done with the aim to limit or block the user's access. We all have come across this kind of message bombing, where you would find that your email ID is hacked and the message is being sent throughout to all the contacts in that email with the aim of asking something irrelevant or trying to tell something which is irrelevant, and it is not actually through the individual or the institution whose mail account is that. So this is known as message bombing, and this is again a kind of cyber harassment. You must have come across, we all have come across, where we have at one point of time we have said that the mail you are receiving is not through my mail ID and it has been hacked. So this is a kind of message bombing, and it is again a kind of cyber harassment. There must be IT rules to look into these effects also, these aspects also. Now another kind of cyber harassment is online impersonation. This is again becoming more and more issue with the social media coming up again and again, the social media becoming more popular, social media account becoming more publicized in a negative manner. Online impersonation implies by creating a false social media account in the name of the target to post offensive messages in order to defame the target. Now this can be done again. This can also be done for the fun purpose. This can be intentional, this can be unintentional. Basically this can be done for the fun purpose and trying to get the sadistic pleasure out of it. This is again a cyber harassment. We witness that a lot of learners also do these kind of things which they should abstain from, because that may land them into a certain on a serious trouble note. Now we come to online sexual harassment. Now online sexual harassment is basically targeted at women than men, because the percentage of men is quite less if we see the studies, if we see the researches done. So it is basically targeted towards women, which includes wide range of sexual misconduct online or through digital platforms. The sexual misconduct can be in varied forms: sending inappropriate videos, sending inappropriate pictures, sending inappropriate messages. All this come under online sexual harassment, and everyone should be quite aware that whatever they are sending or whatever they are sharing should be within the you can say convenient range where it doesn't account for cyber harassment. It can be for fun, but that can lead to the cyber harassment part. Now we come to trolling. Trolling can be different kinds. We won't discuss different kinds of trolling, but we have heard trolling a lot. Usually it happens with the celebrities across where the trolling comes into picture. Trolling is the repetitive posting of offensive comments about the target with the aim to hurt or defame a person, an individual, or of course an institution also. So trolling happens with institutions as well, but usually it is popularly done or more prominently done with the celebrities or with the people who have the name in a specific field. Now we come to cyberbullying. This is the main concept of cyber harassment. So we would come to cyberbullying. What is cyberbullying? Cyberbullying at work. Because usually what happens is cyberbullying for long has been related to bullying of children with their by their peer online, and they may involve humiliation, insult, threats in an online setting. But this is not only a kid's problem now, and it has reached to young adults, women, and of course at workplaces with all. So if we see the study of cyberbullying, the US study of cyberbullying, the Indian part we will see later, US bullying, usually it is related to the students in the school and the colleges, and approximately 34% of students, that's a huge number. Approximately 34% of students have reported cyberbullying, and over 60% students who have reported cyberbullying have been immensely affected mentally. There is a study by John et al. 2018 which states that cyberbullying targets, the targets who have been bullied, are at a greater risk of self-harm. That means they develop suicidal tendencies and suicidal behaviors by cyberbullying. So there are studies where it says that cyberbullying is greatly associated with development of low self-esteem, depression, anxiety, family issues, academic difficulties, work difficulties, losing the productivity, and it has been resulting into lot of depression amongst people. So this is very important aspects. So in India, as per site companytech.com, the Indian statistics shows that highest level of cyber harassment has been from the period 2011 to 2018, and basically most of them, they have happened in the schools and the colleges. So this is a very important aspect which needs to be looked into by the individuals, the institutions, the governments, how to curb or how to prevent cyber bullying, because we are working in an online setting, and we would be working in an online settings for maybe in future as well, as the scenario has completely changed. So we need to discuss what cyberbullying is. So bullying at work includes offensive emails, email threats, offensive comments during virtual meetings, offensive posts and comments on social networking sites, spreading lies and malicious gossip through messaging apps. So when we talk about offensive email, the language should be in such a manner that it doesn't sound offensive. There may be, there are people who may think that it is not offensive, but when it reaches to the receptor or the person who receives the mail, it may be of hurtful nature. So the language is, the way it is communicated should not be offensive. Email threats, there are cases where threats through email have been sent to the targets. Offensive comments during virtual meetings. In certain cases, there are certain cases where the team members, they target each other in the virtual meetings and try to bully them in different forms, and they do it through offensive comments or the negative comments which may hurt the other party. Now this kind of cyberbullying is more prevalent now because we are having more of the online or the virtual meets or the web counselings happening. So offensive comments during virtual meetings also come into the case of cyber harassment. We have offensive posts and comments on social networking sites. Now institutional sites also are witnessing some offensive posts and comments where the students may try to put in the offensive comments and try to defame the name of the institutions or the individuals per se. So this is again a part of cyberbullying. So now these acts, if something you don't like, you can put it in a pleasant manner or in a different or a positive manner. It is not necessary to put it in an offensive manner. So whenever it is offensive and it hurts the other party, it hurts the sentiments of other party, it becomes very difficult to understand the message of the comment. So that is why offensive posts and comments also come under cyberbullying. And of course this happens within the group. Now whatever I was talking about, like the virtual meets and everything, all these are intrinsic comments, or and when we talk about the posts and comments on social networking sites, they become the extrinsic comments. Now spreading lies and malicious gossip through messaging apps, now this is again a cyberbullying part, and this happens within the peer group. Now this should also be avoided. Now the different types of cyberbullying involves causing humiliation through hateful comments on online platforms, apps, or through SMS or messaging. It comprises posting, sending, or sharing negative, nasty, or false information about another individual for causing humiliation and character assassination. And it is quite hurtful when you receive such kinds of comments, and this reduces the productivity. Types of cyberbullying. Now I would like to stress on this part is that there can be two types of cyberbullying. One is intentional cyberbullying and the other is non-intentional cyberbullying. Intentional cyberbullying is of course like trolling or posting comments or trying to character assassinate a person or trying to cyber stalk a person, impersonation. All these are intentional kinds of cyberbullying. But there are non-intentional kinds of cyberbullying where you will find that there is a person who is admiring your work. That person may be so possessive about you or the institution that he or she may start posting or messaging in a way that at the end of the day it becomes offensive. Then there is invasion of privacy. Now suppose the colleagues are there and they are discussing certain things, they are exchanging certain messages, or they are discussing certain things in the virtual meet, but then somebody tries to invade the privacy of that individual. In that case it becomes non-intentional. So that is where one has to be very careful in crossing the boundaries of the individual, whether he or she should be contacted in a particular manner or not. So intentional and non-intentional both are forms of cyberbullying and both can land you in trouble. So intentional, of course, it is quite known, but there are cases where the other party or the other group doesn't even realize that he or she is bullying the other party or the target group, and then it actually hurts the other group or the target group or the target individual. So that is non-intentional in nature. Now if we see the statistics of cyberbullying in India, we would find that the research conducted by Symantec, there are nearly 8 out of 10 individuals which are subject to different types of cyberbullying in India. That is quite a big number, that out of 10 individuals, 8 they experience cyberbullying. Out of these, around 63% have faced online abuses, and insults, and 59% were subject to false rumors and gossips for degrading their image. This can be in different forms. This kind of bullying can be in different forms, and usually it happens in a close-knit environment where people are interacting with each other quite frequently. And with the online platform coming into picture, this is becoming more and more prevalent, where people are facing online abuses and online online insults. The same study, it ranks India as the country facing the highest cyberbullying in the Asia Pacific region, and it is more than Australia and Japan. So now we are a country where cyberbullying is quite prevalent. So that is why it is very, very important to understand that whether whatever we are interacting through mails, through messages, through discussions, whether that comes under cyberbullying or cyber harassment or not. So that is very important to understand. As per the survey conducted by Feminism, around 50% of women residing in prime Indian cities are a victim of online abuse. Now that's again a huge sum, where we are facing more of cyberbullying than the men. So now this is not being a comparison between the genders, but these are the statistics which states so. And that is happening in prime Indian cities. Why prime Indian cities? Because most of the online action is taking place in the metros or the major cities than in the rural parts, and most of the working women, they are based in that particular part. So this is the statistics where 50% of women are facing bullying, cyberbullying in our country. Now, one thing I would like to mention here is that the Sexual Harassment Act of Prevention 2013 also has a provision of cyber harassment in it, and it also states, there are two acts in it, and it also states that cyber harassment is to be considered as form of sexual harassment. There are certain acts which we will be discussing later, which relate to the penalization of the person creating this kind of harassment for the other party. Now, spurred by the increasing cases of cyberbullying in India, the Ministry of Women and Child Development has launched a distinct helpline, that is complaint-mwcd@gov.in. Now, anybody who is thinking that they are facing cyberbullying, they can report to cyberbullying, online harassment and cyber defamation, particularly against women and children. Now, so this is the helpline which is available, where the persons, the women or the children, they can directly go and lodge their complaint in it. But in workplace environment, I would suggest that there is a special place where they can register their complaint or report their complaint before going directly to the Ministry of Women and Child Development. Of course, the children, they can directly the parents of the children, they can directly lodge their complaint through this email address on the website, which is available on the website of Ministry of Women and Child Development. Now, reporting. How to report certain cases. Report cyberbullying in India. An act of cyberbullying can be reported at the cybercrime cell of any city, regardless of the place where the act was committed. This is for public at large, because there are cases where, for example, there are offensive comments on your Facebook page. Now, what happens is Facebook has its own privacy rules, and Facebook has also its complaint center, where you can directly lodge the complaint there. So that can be one option. But an act of cyberbullying can be reported in any of the cybercrime cell of any city. Cyber defamation or cyber harassment of any kind is also considered to be a cyber crime, and the laws governing them, they can't come under the Information Technology Act 2000. So IT Act 2000 has provisions for taking care of cyber defamation, which is basically considered as cybercrime. In cybercrime, usually we consider the cyber security part. So this particular aspect also comes under cyber security. So this is how the reporting can be done. If we see the anti-bullying laws in India, though they are not so prevalent and not so effective as of now, but we hope that looking at the changing scenario, they may be more effective and they may be used in a proper manner. So, but this is again, these are the acts which are available, but they should be used only in the extreme cases. So, cyberbullying in India has reared its ugly head in more ways than one, and it is getting worse day by day with the online scenario coming up. So, these are certain laws. I won't be discussing them in detail, but these are some of the cyber laws which cover some of the acts classified as cyberbullying in India. These are under IT Act 2000 and they are prevalent there and they are in place. So we need to be aware of this because most of us are not aware about these particular acts. Section 66A, it is related to sending offensive messages through communication services. It can be through WhatsApp messages, it can be through emails, it can be through SMS. Section 66C deals with identity theft. It is related to online impersonation where your identity is being stolen and it is the personal details are being stolen and they are being used by someone else and the person has personified himself or herself as you. Section 66D, it is cheating by personation by using the computer resource. This again is by invading the privacy of that person and hacking the person's computer or any of the network resource. Section 66E, it relates to the violation of privacy, the case I was talking about initially. Section 67B, it relates to the punishment for publishing or transmitting of material. In this case, the doxing come into pictures where the documents are published, your personal information is published and it depicts children in any sexually explicit act or in electronic form. So, e-form or e-bullying is involved in section 67B. Section 72 relates to the breach of confidentiality and privacy. Now, the learners should be very careful with this because if they share the confidential information like login ID and the password shared by their faculty for the web counseling or the online classing purposes, and if they share it with other party who is not registered, then this is breach of confidentiality and privacy, and anybody can catch hold of this breach of confidentiality because the ID has been leaked. So there are IT things in place which can take care of these issues. Then section 503, this relates to sending threatening messages through emails. So this relates to the Indian Penal Code. And then section 509, it relates to the words, gestures or acts intended to insult the modesty of a woman. Now in this case, I would like to stress on one important aspect. There are cases in this case, like email threats are there, like inoffensive messages in this form of, suppose a superior or the boss is giving you more work than you are capable of and is not dealing with you as he or she is dealing with other team members, and the other team members are not being given this much work. So in that case, this act results in the insult, and this act is treated as email threat, and that can be considered under 509. Then you have section 499, which includes this sending defamatory messages through email. It's kind of character assassination. Section 500 deals with email abuse, abusing through email, sending derogatory messages through email. That relates to section 500. So these are different kinds of anti-bullying acts prevalent in India. They are in place. How much they are active, that needs to be looked into it. But it is better if we take measures initially and prevent than leading to using of those acts. So it's like precautions or prevention is always better than cure. So there are certain measures which needs to be taken place. Now, if cyberbullying happens, it is better to communicate with the person directly. The target should communicate with the person directly who has hurt the feelings or affected the feelings of the target individual. Communicate with the authorities or the boss and try to sort the problem at that particular level, and if it doesn't sort out at that particular level, a non-molestation order can be obtained from the authorities which says that certain messages, if again and again these messages are coming, even if they are being told not to do it, then in that case the person can be held responsible for cyberbullying. One can block the numbers on the phone, block the persons on social networking sites, activating a junk filter on email, inform the IT division or departments. Now, in taking certain measures, the role of IT division or the IT department comes into picture. So, IT department should ensure the security of the employees in the organization in such a manner that their privacy is not intruded upon. Now, the best part to is these are the 5 parameters which needs to be considered if anyone is facing a case of cyber harassment. First thing is to observe. If observation doesn't work, then to converse, that means talk to people. Then, of course, since it is cyber, everything is documented, everything is available on the record. Instead of deleting the messages or instead of removing the messages, it is better to record and document the messages, then report to the complaint unit, and then try to gather the support. There are cases like for example, in cyber stalking, you need to have a massive support group to avoid cyber stalking. So, for example, in trolling also, you need to have a massive support group. So, all these things need to be taken care of. So, these are the measures. So, now in the last part, I would like to stress upon the fact is that institutional manual regarding cyber harassment should be in place. And the IT division should ensure in providing a uniform and secured platform for web counseling and the virtual meets. The learner study centers, the regional centers, the divisions in the institutions should ensure tech-enabled safeguards while using the digital platforms with large group of learners, so that the security of women learners can be ensured. Now, this particular suggestion has actually come from the RCs because they are facing a lot of issues. So, this is very, very important that IT division should have a uniform secured platform for the LSCs, the RCs, the organization throughout the country, so that the learners can be contacted in a secured environment and the safety and security of women learners can be protected. Now, these are the basic parts. Now to wind up, I would like to stress on the aspects that lot of awareness mechanisms are available, and people should read about the cyber harassment issues, and it is better not to involve or indulge in offensive language. It is always better to be modest, and it is always better to use a certain kind of uh, correct language while interacting with peers, while interacting with learners, while interacting with colleagues, while interacting with anyone on the social media or the digital platform. So they can be awareness workshops, they can be webinars, they can be other sources where the awareness about cyber harassment can be done, and it has to be circulated. To avoid such kind of acts to happen, it has to be circulated in a more proactive manner. So that is why we can avoid cyberbullying or harassment in workplaces and even in homes also, so with each other. So the issues can be resolved. Instead of going to the extremities, instead of reaching to the extreme part where it is not where it is very hurtful, where it gives delusion, it provides mental instability to the individuals. So this can be avoided in the pre-stage itself, where the certain kinds of offensive things are happening. Now one thing is very important, that cyber security of individuals is very, very important. Their personal information, the security of their personal information, the security of their own the institutional information should be secured in such a manner that it cannot be hacked or it cannot be used by people who want to make fun of the institution or the individuals, or who want to create a mockery of the system. So it is very, very important that we take the prevention than go in for the cure. So I would just like to wind up here with the caution that one should be very careful while dealing with students, while dealing with peers, while dealing with colleagues, while dealing with people at large. So thank you so much, and stay safe.